Okay, so let us continue now answering more examples about equations transformable to quadratic equation. So let's have example number 4 here. So the given is x plus 7, the quantity of x plus 7 times the quantity of x minus 4 is equal to 12. So that example number 4, that is similar to example number 1 that we have answered earlier. So, as you can see, on the left side of the equation, we do have here binomial factors. So, if you're going to look at the given equation, so you cannot say at first na quadratic equation siya. But according to the steps that we presented, as if you are going to make use of a certain mathematical concept, we can make this equation quadratic equation. So particularly, if you're going to look at this left side of the equation, in order for you to make this a quadratic equation, this equation as quadratic equation, you're going to make use of distributive property. So, paano ba ginagawa yung distributive property? So, we can apply FOIL method there. FOIL method, or we can also apply Parrot's Beak method. So, paano yun? That is x times x, that would be x squared. Then, x times 4, or negative 4, that would be negative 4x. Then, 7 times x, that would be plus 7x, because that's positive 7x. Then, positive 7 times negative 4, you'll have negative 28. Then, it will be equal to 12. Now, when you do distributive property, as you can see, nagkaroon na siya ng tinatawag nating binomial factor. A variable whose exponent is 2. So, let's simplify first this middle term. Then, isabay na natin na i-move yung 12 to the left side of the equation. Because both negative 28 and 12 are constants. So, let's proceed. So, simplify. We have x squared. Then, negative 4 plus 7x will come up with positive 3x. So, that will become plus 3x. Then, when you move 12 to the left side, that will be negative 28 minus 12 is equal to 0. So, that's what will happen. Then, simplify this constants here. So, we do have here x squared plus 3x. Then, negative 28 minus 12 is equal to negative 40. So, it will be minus 40 equal to 0. Then, from this given, so we are now going to solve it using any method, any methods na pinag-aralan natin about quadratic equation. So, if we can solve it by factoring, then let's solve it by factoring. So, let's find out if there are factors of 40 that when added, the sum is 3. So, kung maiisip mo na meron, of course, you have to use factoring now. So, instead of using any other method. So, let's make use of factoring. So, the factors of that quadratic trinomial are 2 binomials. So, factors ng x squared using sum and product method, that would be x times x. Then, ang factors ng 40. Factors ng 40 that when added, the sum is 3. Ano ba mga factors ng 40? Disregard mo natin yung negative sign, ha? That would be 8 times 5. That would be 10 times 4. What else? So, wala na. So, since negative 4 yon, ibig sabihin, one of the numbers here, one of its factor, of one of the given factors is negative. So, ngayon pipiliin mo, which of the two factors is, when subtracted, the difference is 3. And that is 8 and 5. Now, when we subtract 8 and 5, the answer is 3. So, therefore, the right factors is 8 times 5. So, since negative yung 40, ibig sabihin, or since positive yung middle term, ibig sabihin, the highest number is positive. So, positive yung 8, negative yung 5. So that it will be equal to negative 40 as the product of it. Then these factors will form the second terms of the factors or the binomial factors of that quadratic trinomial together with their signs. So that's positive 8, kaya plus 8, then negative 5, kaya minus 5. Then using zero product property, that would be x plus 8 equal to 0, and the other one is x minus 5 equal to 0. Then solve for the value of the variable by moving the constant term to the right side of the equation on both equations formed. Then we come up with x sub 1 as the first solution, as from positive 8 move to the right side, it will become negative 8. Then on the other side, moving negative 5 to the right side of the equation, it will become x is equal to positive 5. So, that given equation for number 4, if we are going to use mathematical concept, particularly the distributive property, and form a quadratic equation, we can solve that quadratic equation with the use of factoring. So we will come up with the solutions as negative 8 and positive 5. So that's how we answer problem number 4. So let's try another example. Let's have this. So for us to really understand the lesson more clearly, so let's try another example. Let's have example number 5. So number 5, that would be b raised to 6 minus b cubed minus 90 is equal to 0. So if you're going to look at the given equation is similar to example number 2 earlier. So in order for us to solve this, because as you can see, it's not a quadratic equation because the highest exponent is not 2. So what you're going to do is, just like what we did on example number 2, we are going to let a variable with the lowest exponent there as other variable. So in the case of b raised to 6 minus b cubed, the variable with the lowest exponent is b cubed. So we are going to let b cubed is equal to x. So by doing that, we can form an equation wherein we can make this equation a quadratic equation. So that is how many b cubed, b raised to 6 divided by b raised to 3, that would be b squared. So for every b cubed, that is equivalent to x. So how many b cubed we have on b raised to 6? So that would be 2. So that's why we do have x squared. Minus how many b cubed we have on b cubed? That would be 1, and that would be just x. Then minus 90 equal to 0. Then since it's already a quadratic equation, let us now solve for it using any method. And again, as I am telling you, if you can solve it by factoring, then solve it right away by factoring. Because the usual is that we can easily solve a given quadratic equation when it is factorable. So in the case of this given equation, it's factorable. There are factors of negative 90 that when added, the sum is negative 1. The numerical coefficient of this is negative 1. So we know that it's by the factors of that quadratic trinomial are square of binomial. Now, let's find out factors of 90. Ano ba mga factors yan? Meron yung 45 times 2. So meron yang 15 times 6. Then meron yang 10 times 9. What else? Meron pa bang factors of 90? Then, since negative yon, ibig sabihin, isa doon sa mga factors na yon ay negative. And since negative yung middle term natin, ibig sabihin, we are going to find factors of negative of 90 that when subtracted, the difference is 1. So, which of these factors na kapag minus natin, ang sagot ay 1. At yung factors na yon ay yung 10 times 9. So, ibig sabihin, kung negative yung middle term, ibig sabihin, negative yung higher number. So, negative yung 10. So, that 10, negative 10 and 9 will form factors of, the second terms of the factors of this quadratic trinomial. Of course, the first terms of its factors are x times x because we are factoring here x squared. Then, the right factors for negative 90, that would be negative 10, kaya minus 10. Then, positive 9, kaya plus 9, equal to 0. Then, with the application again of the zero product property, we do have x minus 10 equal to 0. And the other one is x plus 9 equal to 0. Then, let's solve for the values of the variable. So, move the constant term to the right side of the equation with the application of addition and subtraction of equality. When it comes to the left side, we are going to make use of addition property of equality, while on the left side is subtraction property of equality. Then, solve for x. We do have here x sub 1, which is equal to negative 10, that will become positive 10 as the first solution. Then on the right side, we do have x is equal to negative 9 as the second solution. So with this quadratic equation, so if we're going to solve it using the method of factoring, we're going to come up with the solutions as positive 10 and negative 9. Okay, para mas maintindihan niyo ng sobra-sobra kung paano ba mag-solve ng equations which are transformable to quadratic equation, let's have another example. Let's have example number 6 here. So the given is 5x over 6 plus 2 over 3x is equal to negative 2. So that example is similar to example number 3 that we have answered earlier. So in order for us to simplify this, because at first, as you can see, we cannot say it is quadratic. But if we're going to simplify this using mathematical concept, we'll find out that it's really quadratic. So what we are going to do is to look for the LCD. Since it involves fractions, so we are going to use the LCD in order for us to simplify this, to transform it into quadratic equation. So, what would be the LCD when it comes to the denominator part na 6 and or numerical coefficient 6 and 3? 6 is exactly divisible by 3. So, that's why we'll get 6 as as the LCD. But since x is another denominator, so we will include also x on the LCD. So that's why the LCD is 6x. The LCD is 6x. So what we are going to do is to multiply that LCD na 6x on both sides of the equation. So kasi sabi natin, whatever you do on one side, you will also do that on the other side. To apply the concept of equality. Then, on the left side, this LCD is to be divided on each of its denominators, then multiply on the numerators. So 6x divided by 6, that would be x. 10 times 5x, that would be 5x squared. Plus 6x divided by 3x, that would be 2 times 2, that is 4, is equal to negative 2 times 6x, that would be negative 12x. Because in the case of negative 2, since it's a whole number, so we're just simply going to multiply it. Then, we know that it's already quadratic equation because of this term. Meron na tayong term na tinatawag natin quadratic term. But yun nga lang, hindi pa siya arranged in general form. So, we still have to arrange it by moving negative 12x to the right side of the equation. So, that will be 5x squared plus 12x plus 4 is equal to 0. Then from here, we are now going to answer this quadratic equation by using any method. And again, as I am telling you, if you can solve it by factoring, then let's solve it right away by factoring. So in the case of example number 6, the quadratic equation can be solved by factoring, particularly by using the whole sapak method. Tinatawag nating sapak method. So paano yun? So let's make use first of the AC method, the A and the C. So what we're going to do is to multiply it first. Pag binultiply natin yan, ang sagot ay 20. Now we are going to find out factors of 20 that when added, the sum is 12. Pag in-add natin factors ng 20, the sum is 12. Ano ba mga factors ng 20? That is 10 times 2. What else? 5 times 4 and 20 times 1. But we will disregard anymore 20 times 1. So on the two factors given, so which of these factors that when added, the sum is 12? And of course, that would be 10 and 2. So that 10 and 2 will form the second terms of its factors. But what would be the first terms of its factors? We know that its factors are binomial factors. We know already the second terms. What would be the first terms if we're going to make use of the AC method? The right factors for 20, that would be 10 and 2. So, as I have mentioned to you, kapag AC method yung ginamit, so the numerical coefficient of the quadratic term na 5 together with the variable will form the first term of the binomial factor. So that would be 5x. Then the factors of 20 that when added the sum is 12 will form its second terms of its factors. That's positive 10 kaya plus 10, positive 2 kaya plus 2. Then from here, as you can see, this binomial factor can still be simplified because both 5 and 10 are divisible by 5. So pag sinimplify natin, that would be x plus 2, 10 times the quantity, 5x plus 2 is equal to 0. Then use yung tinatawag nating zero product property. That would be x plus 2 is equal to 0, and the other one is 5x plus 2 is equal to 0. Then on the left side, the equation na pinorm natin, move natin constant term, ganun din dun sa right side of the equation. Okay, when you move 2 to the right side of the equation, so we'll come up with the first solution as x is equal to negative 2. So that would be the first solution. Then, second solution will be move 2 to the right side of the equation. That will become 5x is equal to negative 2. But still 5 here, x here is still accompanied by 5. So we still have to remove 5 here by dividing both sides of the equation by 5. So that it will come up with an answer which is x is equal to negative 2 over 5 as your second solution. So therefore, if you are going to answer this equation, na at first we cannot say quadratic, but if we're going to make use of a mathematical concept, we'll make it quadratic. And the solutions are negative 2 and negative 2 over 5.